Well, hello everybody. My morning coffee at work night shift. I want to do this live. I really want to stay away from Facebook Lives, but it's becoming increasingly problematic as I'm trying to go forward with a registration for PCC, Party of the Canadian Constitutionalists. So I'm doing this live for everybody, all members, those who've already signed the forms, and those who are going to, plus everything about our registration, what we're doing right now, why we're doing it the way we're doing it, and what we're going to be doing immediately after registration. So, first things first, that I find with a lot of Canadians, the friends, followers, the members of the parties, everyone's asking about all these things, like, can I be a part of this? Can I do this? I want to be on the board. I want. And that's all fine. That's all going to be entertained post registration. And I want to explain that. So, first thing with registration is the fact that we have to answer all of the documents. There's 14 key positions, only 4 in the board right now, just to get the ball rolling. And I've already chosen these people because they were on a party board with me back in 2019. They're tried, tested, and true. They've already done that work. They've been a part of this. Some reason I don't think this live's going. Something must have happened here. I don't know if I got the internet here. Slow connection. We'll try it, but people should have been on by now. It's not normal for people not to join the live. So either people are coming on now. Maybe I'll start over again. It sucks. I see Kathy there. We'll see if people start coming on. It's odd. I wonder why no one's on. That's not like it, that it wouldn't activate everybody by now. But Kathy, you see me there? I don't know if there's a lot of people there or not. I only see you. That would be weird if nobody jumps on. But I guess we'll find out. I don't know. Maybe something's going on with the internet. I want to get into this and where we're going for everybody, and that is the fact that we've taken just 4 registered positions. And why? Because it takes a lot, everybody. It takes a tremendous amount to get all this done. People have to actually physically sign the documents. If I start with a board in place right now with mass amounts of people, I have to bounce multiple documents off each and every person. They have to sign, ratify a number of forms. That could take, if we were talking 40 people right off registration process, that process can delay things by upwards of 6 weeks, which is too long to go before we even get started. So what we're going to do, which is law, is, yes, there's AGMs. You've seen that in parties. But for all registered members and those who've signed the Elections Canada forms, I will call special meetings. Everyone will be brought into those Zoom meetings, and we will go through not only the party board, but the elected positions, the appointed positions, the EDAs, and much, much more, because there's also civil society positions. There's organizational positions for political action in advertising. These are distinct from the party. Some people are going to want different positions, all in and affiliated with the party, but not the board of the party. And that's why you can't be both. You can't be in these multiple sittings. If you're going to run in the election, you can't be on the board. If you're going to run an EDA, you can't be on the board. if you're going to take an appointment, you can't be on the board. And this is why everyone needs to be made aware and make their choices, submit their application for what they think with their talents they would like to do as we open up all these different areas in full disclosure. But again, right now, for party registration, we only need 4 key people just to get the ball rolling. And to understand, to get the accountant to sign on with us, which they've agreed, they require all that paperwork as their page 5 of 14 pages of paperwork. There are a number of documents I must submit with all of that too, and that requires board signatures. So everybody, I love a lot of you. You're heavily vested and involved, but you need to be taught what a board position means, what that's going to mean for your future with the party, and what you can and can't do, what limits are placed on you, just as all kinds of other things we do with the party, endorsements, EDAs, civil societies, political advertising, and crown appointments, which we need thousands. You can't be both. That the law, not my laws, Canadian laws do that. And if we roll out a big board now and we register you, there's a big process to remove you to allow you to go forward in any other of those positions. So while we're going to be open to board appointments, I need to do a small minimum board now to fast track registration and infuse all those documents that all those people have to sign on with. Many documents. Once those are certified with the accountant who gets to review all of that, they'll then go forward as our auditor. So it's a couple weeks of work. It's not impossible. And I've already picked people who are loyal to the cause. Again, tried, tested, and true. And they understand what happens. And I want to tell everybody this. If you don't do it properly and you get the wrong people off the hop, you can actually ruin the application in mid-swing, especially if these people are contacted and someone says, hey, you know, this by parties involved, including the government, and they turn around and say, oh, no, oh, I'm not for that, oh, I'm doing this because I want to do this, then they're going to nullify our application. Now, the people who are involved, who've been before, have already been through all this. They already know. After we're registered, I will open all of that up, and those, once filled in on all of it and all the positions available, all direction, and made aware so they can assess their own talents, they can choose their path forward. I'm telling you, this is not one election. This is not one political standing of who's president. This is something to be built over many, many elections to come with a growing mass of people. The Crown appointments alone are going to be utterly shocking, not only for all Canadians and First Peoples, it's going to be shocking for the entire world. It really is a pants pulled down on the United Kingdom, their crown system worldwide throughout the Commonwealth. Yes, it will eventually roll forward. Like, what? Is Australia this too? What? Is New Zealand like that too? How many other crown assets are like this? And then, wow, there's lots with a lot of these things. And it moves the whole world forward. It really does. Is it very dangerous? Yes. Do I get threats all the time? Yes. Are threats increasing and getting worse for me? Yes. And they probably will for all of you too. That's why we're going to go through this at minimum and then have specially called meetings which I'm going to be doing immediately after registration, bi-weekly, literally bi-weekly. Mandatory is only once a month for monthly meetings, and that's just board. But we're going to be doing this bi-weekly with everybody who signed forms and done our oath, which you're going to see. Some of you have already done that, signed on, a lot of you, in fact. But we're going to continue that. We're going to open it up to more memberships soon in the coming weeks. Unfortunately, I'm in Ontario. I'm working full-time, 6 days a week currently, and all my paperwork on everything, and including our signature drives, is back home safe and sound in Alberta, but it doesn't help me right now. I am going back in May. I have 10 days off in early May to mid-May to get all of that together and done. And during that time, and for 2 months up to June, we're going to open up free memberships again. We'll activate volunteers. Our website's there. It's open. I have a number of emails there open. I haven't utilized them yet. Again, we're getting set up through the registration process to acquire the accountant who's on board, but they need all that paperwork for Elections Canada to know who and what they're getting involved with, to see that it's legit, which it is, and they're comfortable with it, but they need all of it signed and filled out at the basic minimums with the least amount of delays, so I can activate everybody and we can have legal meetings, specially called meetings for the whole party membership, for everybody, public, for those who've signed the oath and signed membership forms, so you can go forward and decide where you want to go in your towns and then apply through the process where, if it's all good and everything's great, we go through it, you go through and you're registered with Elections Canada after the fact. Welcome to the board, or welcome to your new position in an EDA, or your appointment, or your coming candidacy in an election. We're going to go through all that, but it's all in time, in due course. And right now, it's critical to get the party registered as fast as possible, as accurately as possible, without any issues. So I'm going to grab my glasses and open it up to Q&A. It was very late for some reason for people to get on today. Dennis is on there, Catch Your Life for a bit. I know, Kathy, I seen you right away, which was good. But then I'm sitting there in dead space for a while. I was like, what's going on? So I want to see. And Chad Tyler says, I'd love to join the board, Mr. Dave Bjorkman. See, Chad, that's why I want to get everybody on, and I want everybody educated into what everything means. Not that we don't need a lot of board members. We will. We'll need a large core board group. We will need that. But it comes with limits. It comes with responsibilities. And it limits you in other areas that you may want to pursue. That's all I'm saying. I just want to make sure that people don't feel, once registered with Elections Canada, oh man, you mean I can't pursue all these other avenues? I wanted to do this. Or now that I know about this, that suits me. I really want one of those things. And then it's like, oh great, now we got to go back to Elections Canada. Now we have to spend time decertifying you, replacing you, putting you in a position. It's better not to be doing that during registration or pigeonholing anybody without all the information made available to them in a spot that then later on they go, oh man, if I had known about that, I wouldn't have taken this. I would have rather been that. Why didn't you tell me? It's like, well, we're just getting registered. We need the legal entity. That's what we're doing. Then we build up the legal entity when everyone has the information at hand. Yeah, Lindsay says, it feels like we've been waiting this forever. I'm so happy. Yeah, no, it's good. I hope people have questions here. And I don't know what it is today, Saturday, if people aren't just available or what have you. I know there's going to be a lot of rhetoric. Need to be fully dedicated for this. Yeah, exactly. And that's the other thing. The whole process of this is going to be you have to be made aware of what your responsibilities going forward are, what legal ramifications and what things you have to commit to. And that's why some people may not want to commit to that and then realize, hey, I'm stuck in this and now it's a pain in the butt to get out of this. And I'd rather have been on one of these other appointments or in an EDA or in a candidacy later on. And right now, yeah, I can do things, be active, but I want to do that. Other things people are saying, which is all ludicrous and it's all scare and fear tactics, is that somehow I'm working for Donald J. Trump or the American administration. I assure you I'm not. I would love to. I'd love to do that, but I don't. I'm completely independent of all organizations. I follow international law. I have taken courses in that. Yes, I'm applying at the UNSC for a coordinator position in basically capacity as someone who researches and presents, right, an analyst. But I'd be in charge of a number of analysts if I get that. I have till April 24th to do that. And just so everybody knows, this is all nations of the world. It was currently Islamist states in majority that are saying that. And these are states behind the USA. There's more we're going to be releasing. You're all going to see in the platform. I can talk a little bit about that. I've already dedicated a number of Republican initiatives in their platform into ours. One of the highlights that's going to put a big baby to bed and get a lot of American support, at least partisanly from Democrats and Republicans, is that we're going to guarantee in our platform that we're going to turn over Peter Nygard to the United States in extradition to complete the Epstein files, because there's a lot of cockamamie against a lot of Democrats and Republicans that on Epstein and everything else, when we need to finish it off with the most massive, most emails inside that document, most offenses, is Peter Nygard, who everybody created Epstein in pedophilia. This is not a guess. This is not are you sure? This is deadly, 100% accurate. There are many Democrat and Republican committees that have hammered on the Crown of Canada to turn over Peter Nygard. They refuse. Folks, Peter Nygard has thousands of child victims. He targeted the global sphere of subject and savage defined children. Yes, many First Nations children. Yes, many Canadian children, amongst all kinds of Commonwealth children. He had a much larger island in the Bahamas with direct links to the then property Jeffrey Epstein bought, the smaller island just off his island, major and big. It was Peter Nygard who really transformed Jeffrey Epstein. That was through 100% Prince Andrew, who has many, many ties to many, many crown perverts of a lot of kingdoms, even the Princess of Norway and royal family members. You're seeing a lot of it coming up in the media and news, and all these criminals, especially appointments in Canada. Yes, First Nations, crown attachments. Yes, Canadian politicians, but they're all untouched. Even I can tell you this, for everybody, implicated in someone who will go down is Bill Gates. No American is more tied to Peter Nygard and absolutely Jeffrey Epstein and the combined victim list than Bill Gates. Bill Gates will go down. This is not fiction. This is fact. It is actually Canada that is stopping the proceeding of going forward on the Jeffrey Epstein files. It is number one, Canada. It's why Canada's having tremendous troubles with the United States. One of the major factors called, absolutely, this is undeniable, by Democrat and Republican congressional committees, amongst many, many others. It's there. It's been there for years. And they have called for the extradition of Peter Nygard to face the United States and to be questioned in the thousands of emails and transcripts not even talked about. They'd rather talk about Democrat politicians or Republican politicians that clearly have zero to do with any crimes against any children in America, and certainly had nothing to do with the Crown pedo enterprises of Prince Andrew and many, many other kingdoms. And it's probably not even just Prince Andrew. Queen Elizabeth is nailed in this too. A lot of people have alluded to that. Peter Nygard didn't grow into a massive establishment in modeling and child trafficking without the Crown's blessing. And because of that, he was able to take a Mossad but MI5 agent, Jeffrey Epstein, forward. And he did that. So Americans want to get to the heart of the matter. It is going to highlight a lot of Canada and the Commonwealth and many European nations, especially monarchies, beyond anything anyone's ever seen. And it's going to really propel the Jeffrey Epstein files forward into real conclusion with real arrests and real accountability, and satisfy a lot of the American victims. More in America is the Peter Nygard files that are huge, much larger. While there's not as many American child victims, there's thousands of Commonwealth victims, many J Treaty victims, where Peter Nygard, in relation with Jeffrey Epstein in New York, as he got Jeffrey Epstein off the ground, there are J Treaty victim Canadian First Nations children who were brought into all of that too, listed in the American judicial files, the DOJ, Department of Justice, all of it, FBI. They have dozens of them too. So think hundreds of American, or 100 and some American children in Epstein. And then there's like 27 Canadian First Nations children in the Peter Nygard Epstein attachment that America can't go forward with, which means they really can't go forward with Jeffrey Epstein until they have numero one, Peter Nygard. So we bring that forward. And a lot of things that I'm not going to get into much more than that today, because in the coming days, and I hope to be finished by tonight, we'll have our platform, our constitution of the party, and our bylaws done, has to be done, signed off by our party board members, myself, and then added as parts of that 1 to 14 page document. A lot of you I want on the board. I'm just going to say that right now. But I want to make sure after registration, we present you with the full meal deal. Some of you have already reached out and said, listen, others already know the Crown appointment positions. I want them to do. And there's still many, many, many more. And there's senior ones too. Just so everybody knows, I have people who ran in CPC as MPs throughout Canada who want to join us. That's why we have an oath. If they want to do that, they're going to have to take the oath of allegiance to the United States of America. Everybody does, and a lot of people already have. Not the pledge, no, the actual oath. And just so everybody knows publicly, that oath will be registered with the United States of America, because they have laws on foreign threats, foreign and domestic threats. And that is the best way to do this. And that's what I'm going to do, because Canadians like to backstab. The board that I've established, I want to explain this too. The board I've established already has been through the backstabbing, lying, cheating Canadian Crown people. We went through it in Alberta independence, where people claim to be something and then flip on a dime. They're not, and go, haha, lied to you. We have it all over our page. There's people who will say, I'm for the party, I support this, I renounce that, I'm for your party, da 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 da. And then next thing you know, they're posting, I hate USA, F this, I'm not with this. It's like, but why did you lie just to get a stage to talk in our party? That's why people have to take the oath, because there's going to be liability and accountability. Now, is there any way the Crown will punish any of these people? No. The Crown will say, you're a great lying Canadian, just like your lying, thieving, corrupt Crown. We love that kind of Canadian subject. However, in America, you'll be put on a list. You'll be put on a list, and if you violate the same kind of thing under that oath of America, you can forget about any admission in travel or related business practices worldwide in those circumstances. They're going to look at you as a foreign threat to the national security of the United States of America, and that is the only way to go forward. This was what we did with our petition drive we just did with the UNSC for Mike Waltz. That's how we did it. Anyone wants to pull a fast one? Is it going to change threats from Canadians and all of that? No. And do I register any of that with the United States? No. People want to harass me, whatever. That's fine. Do I register with the police in Canada? I used to. If people list killing Donald J. Trump or any other American, I most certainly do take all of that and forward it on to the FBI. Yes, I most certainly do. And I have to do that. I have to do that, because if something happens and I didn't, you're complicit. If people are that stupid to do that after somebody shot up the U.S. consulate in Toronto, I mean, man, you've got to be a real idiot. You got to be a real idiot that you're not going to be public enemy number one and registered on a watch list in the United States. And you can forget about ever getting access to the United States or utilizing any of its markets. This is how stupid people are. I don't know why you would think you're special when other terrorist organizations and groups aren't. And if you didn't know, most of the time, 90% of the time, the Canadian Crown coward federal government will always capitulate with the United States on registering people. And they have reciprocity too. Canada has to sacrifice a lot of privileges with the United States, and really treaties at the end of the day they can't breach. They won't breach, but these times are coming, and how crazy the Crown will get is anyone's guess. So folks, don't worry yourselves over your government or lunatics and what people say, because a lot of it's hogwash. It's big talk. Most people are cowards in Canada. If it wasn't the case, you would have seen all kinds of fight back, violence, and everything else in Canada a long time ago, and you haven't. Because Canadians are already in majority since the transition in the 90s and forevermore under all political parties, just frogs in a pot of boiling water, or pigs in a trough who are waiting to be fed. The food's getting lower quality. They're getting skinnier. You can see their ribs. They don't want to have to forage for themselves anymore. It's removed from them. That is a sad reality. How much pain and punishment do people have to go through? That's where we're at, unfortunately. That's why this is important today to have this party, because it's not right now. It's the sacrifices we make right now that in the coming years are going to see a fruition. And I'm just going to say this. If you think it is only President Trump, you're dead wrong. There is no president, I can tell you this, absolutely since Barack Obama. It's why Canada can't get a UNSC seat, no matter which party. Harper couldn't, Trudeau couldn't, and certainly Mark Carney isn't. So his response is, I'm going to fight the USA. Good luck with that. I'm going to teach the USA a lesson. We're going to replace America. Good luck with that on the world's and USA's longest uncontrolled border. You will see ever-increasing sanctions. You will eventually have major embargoes. I think that's going to start that process July 1st. That's my prediction. I think USMCA is gone. Call it Kuzma, whatever you want to call it. That is done. It's going to go back to annual review, and that's it for Canada. I don't think there's a single Canadian expert that will argue that. Now, a lot of lying politicians in mass majority are going to tell you I'm batshit crazy, but yet there's not a single Canadian expert who thinks we're going to get a USMCA renewal July 1st. They think that it's largely unlikely that's over, and that the 16-year going forward is done officially July 1st. And in fact, we're going to be situated in a system of annual reviews where USA demands more. And every time we don't make the same demands on the table today, they're going to slap us with more, and more. And just because the United States judiciary at its highest level, the Supreme Court of the United States, removed tariffs in a particular manner for Donald J. Trump, doesn't mean they can stop trade embargoes. And if you haven't noticed, in the last 4 months of precedent, nothing stops the president as the head of state and executive of pursuing military intervention when cuckoos go off the chart. And we're going to get there, especially in the face of embargoes post-July 1st. You're only seeing sanctions. You haven't seen the massive embargoes. Military intervention is not even wantingly to be speakable. You don't want that kind of system on your entire economic standing, Canadians. I don't at all. I want the easy way, the easy path. This is why the party, this is the work we've been doing for 6 years. And in relation to that, we probably have more than 1,000. I have to download everybody who did the oaths and signed up for PCC from our website and all those emails, all the work done. I have to add that to our pile too in Alberta. They have to be physically made. I have to do all that when I go back to Alberta, add those. And in the meantime, we're going to be taking more and continue that. Why? Because this is work since the start of COVID-19 when I started it. And I don't know the status of everybody over the last 6 years. There is also the process, not only when we get all of our paperwork done and our T's crossed, which we have already, but now we're physically doing it. I don't know that everybody's going to be on board from the original signature drive, let alone the last 6 months or 6 years. I think a lot of people are, and it's probably really good because we've overshot our requirements by a lot. But we're going to open it up to everybody again. I've seen all the messages, people doing that, and we are going to get to you. It's just in time with the website up again and those volunteers in place. The website is up, emails are activated, but I want to make sure we have all of our registration process on board. And during those months, now with the accountant on board, we can collect the signature drive and then submit it with a fresh round to make sure we have a fresh new set of 250 on top of all that, and that everybody who signs on understands we're submitting. Elections Canada's going to send you all a package. You have to open it, sign everything up, confirm that's you, and send it back. And that's an issue too. It's a lot of work on the member's part, but you have to do that. If you don't, all this was for nothing, and we have to continually start again. And it's big money, and I'm not a rich man, contrary to what everybody says, or I work for Donald J. Trump. I'm a lowly third-class subject, mediocrity at best. I have children, I fund, family I take care of. I am not rich. I am not rich. I work my ass off 6 days a week, like so many of you. And I do that, and it's still hard to make a go. I get it. I get it better than anybody. Anyone saying I'm in bed with all of these people is a complete liar, a fallacy, or that we're going to get rich. We're not going to get rich. There's no getting rich. Donations and all of that runs the party, runs the organization. That's all in full view, publicly made available. I can't keep that a secret. And if you want to see where rich is made, go look at the Liberals and the Conservatives. People being angry about what we're doing and splitting votes. Like, are you insane? Did your vote matter on floor crossing? Did it matter when everyone was mad at Trudeau and they were crossing the floor to the Conservatives? Was that right? Or when they crossed the floor to NDP and then back to Liberals and then back to Conservatives, and in fact, hundreds and hundreds of times since 1867. Hundreds and hundreds of times. It's always been that way. The parliamentarians get on the news and say they crossed the floor. This is a function of democracy. Yeah, parliamentary democracy, folks. Everything we stand against. Parliamentary democracy. Democracy of the crown. Not you, not me, not anything. You do a ceremonial vote for who gets the democracy. And they choose to go forward in their democracy. They vote for policies that they want and their backers want, not you, the constituents. And if you think any province or territory runs any different, you're completely wrong. 100% wrong. So now let's go back to questions. I gave it some time to let people, let's see. I'm more of a blank check myself when I'm needed. Good morning, everyone. Rise and shine. Let's see. Looking dapper, Dave. Yeah, that's a really nice shirt I got in Ontario this time around. Okay, I want to make sure. I hate how it scrolls on me and starts over. Okay. Dave, just let people know Canada and Canadians will stay the same as people and area, as did Alaska, Puerto Rico, Hawaii, and on and on. Only law, clear law, and economical change to the benefit of, this is Sean, Karstensen. Economic change to the benefit of all Canadians. Exactly. So what Sean wants me to say, everybody, is that Canada, the 51st state, why it's awesome is it doesn't change anything about our cultures, our languages, our beliefs, anything about us, the people. The area we encompass changes nothing. It just means now that the whole state is yours. That parliamentary democracy becomes your democracy. and that new laws forcing accountability of politicians have to be beholden to you, the people, and you get a new court system, and this is an American Indian, aka the same First Peoples of Canada invention. You get a we the people court system to hold them to account. That doesn't exist in this parliamentary democracy of a fused legislative, judicial, and executive branch of government. That's what we're changing. That's the beauty of 51st state. And on to that, where people want to separate, pursue independence, Alberta, Quebec, do all that, but don't do it made in the Crown parliamentary democracy system, because they vote against you every time. They have so many layers of an onion that will never allow it to pass. Literally 30 years of backlogs and court challenges every step of the way. You're already seeing Alberta get one, and they haven't even finished the petition drive. They've got a court injunction now to sever all counting of the ballots at elections Alberta until the constitutionality of First Nations being involved is addressed through treaties. Even though Canada has dissolved historic treaties all on its own, irrespective of international law and irrespective of UK-USA signed treaties. So when First Nations say, the King said, or Queen Elizabeth said, well, folks, you have to go back to historic first treaties. One of the oldest of the old treaties, 1794 Jay Treaty, the free and unfettered access of North American Indians, the same Canadian First Peoples, to go back and forth across the U.S. border without a passport, without any restrictions. All they have to be is a First Nations with blood quantum in a recognized tribe. So you're Indian status. That's it. Now that's the truth for all Canadian First Peoples in the USA. They've never dissolved any Indian treaties. In fact, they've made more. They've dissolved all assimilation and colonial acts against all American Indians. This hasn't happened in Canada. Not federally at all. They still run the Indian Act, the Savage Peoples Act, the Non-Human Beings Act, 1867. USA's done away with all of that. Now, USA did have a history where they said 10 years after the 1876 Indian Act, was a little more than that, USA followed suit, 1785 ratifying in 1789. They ran it for 30 years, and then they changed narrative. They said, no, this is anti-American. It's what's wrong with America. We're ending all of this. They ended slavery. They destroyed the Spanish Empire and global slavery legislated. They finished that. Right after the War of Independence, the Civil War in 1867, after that, they ended that not only in USA, by having a civil war and removing that Spanish legalization constitutionally of slavery and savage definition of blacks and First Nations, they turned around and destroyed the rest of the world of that, the remaining Spanish Empire. America did that. And then they went on to decolonize all of their holdings, all First Peoples known as American Indians, absolutely destroying the Indian Act and giving equal Indian citizenship. From there, they went on to self-determination and land back for we, the Indian citizen tribal nations, where they have way more land in a smaller country than any Canadian First Persons could ever dream of in Canada's Indian Act. You're 0.35%. They're literally 100 times more land than you have. And it's their land. Their rights to do a lot with that land, way more than you'll ever imagine, because they have real self-determination, real self-government, real sovereignty as their tribes. They just pursue the exact same process as the Enabling Act for statehood. 1/5 of the Indian nations have already completed this. Known in the Indian states, in Oklahoma, 6 Indian territories, yes, all south of Alberta, including Treaty 7, Blackfoot Confederacy, where they're doing way, way better with way more land than all of Treaty 7's people, the Blackfoot, who just put in to block the Alberta petition along with Treaty 6. But I can show you how those people will get massive land back just through ending the Indian Act and incorporating all American Indian laws instead. 4 of them: self-determination, self-government, full equal citizenship, nations within the nation, and absolutely massive lands back. Why the Canadian Crown is most afraid of Canada, the 51st state, is because it promises to finish the American Revolution off. It promises to make whole all of the eastern tribes. This is a lot of those northern Democrat states where those American Indians have nothing. And they're part of that 2/3 without any settlements in the United States because they fought for the Canadian Crown to destroy their own people. Not their fault at the time. They didn't know better. They followed the British Empire, and they were left worse off than they could ever imagine. Could ever imagine. The Crown did not honor anything, and they were left worse than they were and would see of all other American Indians who stayed in the American system. They're all doing tremendously better than all of those with nothing in those northern states, eastern northern states, yes, eastern USA. But the promise is that below the 49th parallel, which is their claim, that's where the Crown lands come into play. That's what Canada's most scared of, is that, as the 51st state of the Union, those American Indians will be repatriated. They won't be savages anymore with nothing. They're going to get something. And it moves America forward and finally ends that 2/3 of American Indian settlements they need. And it fixes absolutely all of Canada for all Canadian First Peoples, who will see tremendously more land of that Crown land than anything you've seen in America outside of obviously Nevada and Oklahoma and 4 other Indian states. Those are massive. It would be on an equal thing, but it's great for Canadian First Peoples and a much less population to look at those Indian settlements of the 1/3 who's fully achieved that and as self-government are doing very well, better than many, many other Canadian municipalities, provinces, and territories. Much, much better. And those are just the Indian nations kicking Canada's butt. Their GDP tremendously better than most of Canada's east to west, especially north of that first 100 miles. You clearly see it. And this is why Canada, the 51st state, which is terrifying for the Crown, it's terrifying for the British Empire mentality, Europe, because, oh my God, can you imagine this spreading throughout the world? If we allow America's concepts to finish off North America, we're going to lose our Commonwealth. The European Union's going to weaken greatly. Every single colonial asset's going to go, look what they did, right? Can you imagine all Canadians getting so much land you can't imagine with Americans in tow, with that capital coming forward to develop, and American Indians getting all that capital, control of now their lands, First Peoples, first choice in these crown lands, in a massive percentage. It would just destroy the evil of the world. It would really rock it to its core. It would strengthen America. Yes, it's a $7 trillion almost immediate explosion in Canadian GDP as the 51st state, meaning we would surpass UK with a much less population as the 51st state. We'd be the strength equivalency of Russia. But imagine having American 50 states capital investment. That's just the opener. That's not going forward 10, 15, 20, 50, 100, 150, 200 years in the future. Generations of Americans at that point. Wow. Wow, right? And that's scary for global powers. It can be. Like I said, Canada would be the new replacement of Russia. And that's what I kind of laugh that so many people who say they're for Ukraine and all these things. Well, if you were really truly for that, you would be for Canada the 51st state, because you can literally replace Russia as a state superpower. Canada the 51st state would be equivalent to Russia currently in power and strength, with 1/4 of the population growing as there's American migration, right? I'll say this too. We hold the universal health care intact, the district model system that the Supreme Court of the United States will enshrine. There is no doubt. There's no Canadian, or especially any American academic, that can come forward to deny that if we were to get Canada the 51st state going through Enabling Act, that we would not only win with SCOTUS United States public universal health care, it would be enshrined and it would spread through the 50 states. You would have your first model, because that is what's constitutional America. And I'm not destroying private. It's a two-tier model. Yes, that means we're taking the entirety of USA's private system onto Canadians, working Canadians, and folks who want to pursue that private insurance. Sure, it's made available to you. But we're talking about public models. We're talking about Obamacare. We're talking about Medicaid and Medicare. Ours blows that out of the water, especially with the attached U.S. immigration model and the end to Canada's immigration model, especially the end to Canada's province and territorial P&P programs. When you put an end to that, and yes, you deport 8 million people who are not citizens of Canada, who would be made illegal in current U.S. laws. They'll be gone. It is an ICE on steroids immediately. And I don't think you'd have Democrat committees or Republican committees arguing with that. And it's why a lot is still going through with the United States and can't be stopped. And people go, why? Why is this? Why is the Congress not enacting? Why are they not? Because the committees are the ones who wrote all this up, the check and balance. Trump's only doing what Democrats and Republicans at the highest levels have put forward for decades, folks. Just like what they've put forward against Canada for decades. It started with Obama. Trump's just the most vocal, most aggressive with it. But does it change the fact that everything that's been done and being done to Canada isn't going to continue and get ramped up higher and higher, regardless if you have a Democrat or Republican presidency? Yes, it's going to continue. It's going to continue harder and stronger, harder and stronger. Mark Carney doesn't say F USA, move on from USA for no reason. He knows Canada's done. The Crown is done. And his last-ditch effort for survival, your politicians' last-ditch effort for survival, and to get through long enough to get offshore and get away and make as much money for themselves and their Crown family hereditary system as possible, is to continue as far as they can go and then run away. Because unlike America, if we were Canada, the 51st state, these people are held accountable. These people can't run away. In America, there's nowhere you can go as an American citizen to get away from we the people in the American system. Death and taxes in America is absolute reality. You as an American citizen can never get away from taxes, which means you can become a multinational, but you'll never get away from the United States of America and repatriating the Americans. You'll never get away. And currently in Canada, they do. The Crown runs away all through Europe, all through the Commonwealth, all through the Crown entire system, offshores everywhere, in private island colonial asset enterprises where trillions of dollars sits for them. Just keep thieving from the Canadian First Peoples. Keep thieving from the slave Canadians. Keep going as hard and as much as possible. We got to keep this shit show going until it ends. And don't worry, we have an offshore haven for you. You'll be safe. We'll protect you. There's no law that says they can hold you accountable. America promises to bring that to fruition. And that ends all in one day. And if we play our cards right, we can actually go after these people, but likely in the event, once compromised and it's going to go to the end, they're going to capitulate. There's a lot in Crown appointments over the finances of Canada, how politicians are paid. It's all through Crown appointments. We're going to teach you all of that. There's literally thousands of appointments. There's major key ones in every province and territory, plus federal, massive, in judicial, federal, legislative, that no one's ever even heard of. But that's what holds the glue to the country. That's what holds the elected in check in their Crown system. We're assuming those positions, publicizing for the first time ever in world history, in Canadian history, all of those titles, what they do, and why we're taking those and what we're going to do with them to destroy the Crown, destroy that as we transition to 51st state. Just that in a legal platform, published and educated, is going to move the needle in Canada so many folds, so many folds. And Canadians go, is this true? And then they can start looking up on AI and, yes, that's true. Yes. Or AI is going to say, well, I didn't know that. We know there's thousands of those, but wow, we're learning something too, right? So I love that part of it. Okay, so I'm going to go back to questions. I've given people more time. So we got Sean. Yeah, states don't change anything. They actually strengthen you. Lindsay says there's been nothing glamorous about it. We take the hits, get up stronger. That's right, Lindsay. Okay, I gotta. Oh. I hate scrolling through these because it resets it all the time. As soon as I grab it, I gotta just kind of roll it. And Sheila Felt says about the UNSC. So my last publication on Alberta independence or any independence in Canada, and actually the big one's coming for Quebec, who's got the political party likely to win majority here in the next Quebec provincial election. So they're going to run that. They need to run it through the UNSC, United Nations Security Council, everybody. United Nations Security Council is the whole of the New World Order, 1945 and onward till today. No country is dissolved or made in this world without the United Nations Security Council. There is no example of any other since 1945. 142 nations created out of the United Nations Security Council. Canada is a country. It has sub-regions in its limited federalism. There's First Peoples with treaties. Treaties Canada dissolves whenever they want, historically, and they did. US-UK treaties. First Nations are telling Albertans who are doing an in the Crown Canada independence referendum that they can't do that. The court has now shut down the actual counting elections Alberta till it's ruled constitutional. They'll let them finish the drive, but they won't count the signatures or make it official unless court says it's constitutional. And what do you think the process for that is? Canadians, Albertans, Quebecois, years. And then even if you get that and then they count it and then you hold a referendum, then they're going to challenge that too. And then you have to pass that referendum. Is that referendum constitutional? That goes back to court. Then you get through that, let's say you do, which is another giant hula hoop of fire jumping through a water bucket. Let's say you get all. Now you got to negotiate with First Nations, negotiate with the Canadian government and all the provinces with an equalization formula in place. How far is this going to go? How many decades? With lawyers, court actions, all of it? Probably 30, 35 years. So everybody who signed the petition will be dead by then, right? Or at least half of them. Getting rid of their signature drive. Gotta start over, right? It was always cockamamie. There is no example in the entire world post-1945 of any sub-region gaining independence by the country that it's trying to get independence of. That's pretty much common sense. You'd think that if you were a real separatist or sovereigntist, you would explore that first. Just like I explored, you need provincial constitutions. Constitution calls for it. How come no provincial politician in power wants that? Because they don't want accountability or responsibility. No. No power to the people. No restrictions on my power. None whatsoever. Here's an Executive Powers Act giving me all the authority over you, the listed subjects and savages. It's 8 pages. All provinces and territories are the same, except for Ontario and Quebec. They get a few extra powers of full-on autocracy. Doesn't matter at that point. They got more powers of autocracy than I got. Why are you fighting over autocratic powers of divine dictators? Where is we the people, the power of the people? This is evil. And it's also a breach of international law. So 1948, under the UN Conventions on Genocide, Human Rights and Genocide, the UNSC went through everything except for cultural genocide. They allowed that to be an ideal, a called for. No country can be established with any of those things, but they didn't address any countries doing that until we hit 1977, South Africa apartheid. So every Canadian and First Peoples know. I'm going to say this. It's 100% accurate, deadly accurate. South Africa's created apartheid regime way back in 1910, created and cemented, did that absolutely by shipping a delegation over to Canada, British Columbia, and then off that ship unloaded, they studied the Canadian Indian Act multiple times over many years to design the South Africa apartheid regime. They made that, they cemented that, they made their savage class of NIGGERs, created that, said you're savages, like the Indians in the Indian Act. We love this model. We are in the Commonwealth. At the time, we are a constitutional monarchy under the British Empire with Queen Victoria as our head of state. We shrine this. We're just like Canada, who did it 40 years before us, and we officially learned it off Canada. Ready? A decade later, a young Adolf Hitler comes along, and a group calling themselves the Nazis, yes, National Socialist Fascists, wanted to learn all about socialism and fascism and how did the other crown parties do it. So they went to South Africa and they studied the South Africa Apartheid Acts. Built off what? The Indian Act of Canada officially. That is the document that created the South African apartheid system and regime. And it's what Nazi Germany's Hitler and company studied to make Germany's Enabling Act, which is an Indian Act. No, they didn't directly get it from Canada. They got it directly from South Africa. Absolute history, where South Africa first got it as a British constitutional monarchy, an asset of the crown, from Canada's Indian Act. It's clearly logged over many years, many delegations back and forth on the ship to learn that. Canada's Indian Act is responsible for every major genocide in the turn of the century and onward. Canada is responsible for everything that happened in Australia. Canada is responsible for everything that happened in New Zealand. Canada is responsible for everything that happened in South Africa. Canada is responsible for Israel and Palestine, the savage Palestinian, and all the Islamic evil that spurred from that. That is Canada's fault, not Canadians. Your crown. You're at fault for all of that. All of that is birthed out of you, out of your Constitution and the power to create an Indian Act. You're responsible. They looked at how you genocided in residential school genocide. Did a lot of these regimes take it much further? Sure. But it doesn't change the fact who did it first, who created it. All the atrocities of America Limited on the American Indians come from Canada first. Canada's 10 years ahead of the United States, 30 years ahead of the United States in reforms to kill and destroy the Indian problem. America, as fast as they got into it, as fast as they got out of it. Yeah. They've evolved, they've changed, they've grown, they've matured. All people, all American citizens equally. There's only two types of citizens in America. American Indian, American. That's it. Equal, the same. States of the Union with equal nations within the nation. And the nation is the state. Yeah, the state. Canada's better off as a 51st state with full 100% sovereignty, with equal sovereignty of every Canadian First Person's tribal rights, with land back, self-determination, self-government, no different than the same Enabling Act that all Canadians will have to go through. At the same time, all the First Nations go through it too. You build your Constitution. We're going to show you how we force every current politician, if we win the title of Prime Minister, even in minority. That's all you need. Don't need a majority when you take all Crown positions. You've now taken all their money. You've taken their entire justice system, the military, the police, all of it, including the buildings. Who locks down the buildings? The agencies in charge of the buildings, all of it. Provincially, territorially, and federally. Meaning, I don't need to win over NDP. I don't need to win over Liberals. I don't need to win over Bloc. I don't need to win over conservatives. I don't need to win over Green. I don't need to win over anybody. And I certainly don't need to win over any province or territorial government in power or any opposition. We have the Executive Powers Act, which means we have the lieutenant governors. And all the constitutional authority of every premier resides with us. We the people, who, yes, take that massive crown power, yes, as Adolf Hitler did, but not for genocide, not for evil, but to produce the greatest of love. We the people, Canadians and First Peoples, together forevermore. So I'm going to look for more, as a Métis, how would that work? Blood quantum would mean no longer Indigenous. Mike Bush, those with Métis settlements are only found in Alberta. They're only found in Alberta. And that's an issue in international law. And yes, those without it, this is the adoption system. These are people who long since haven't been in it. The private property of Alberta, taken from Treaty 8 and dispersed, I don't know if that holds water in international law. Because how can you have a chopped up province of here's crown land and private property, here's the districts of the crown. Oh, by the way, this is also ancestral Métis land and we broke it into a numbered group. Oh, by the way, it's numbered treaty land. We're broken into groups. How do you subdivide everybody out without addressing the other person? Who has rights and who doesn't? Well, private property is the number one right in the United States of America. So in the Alberta example, the Métis will probably keep all their property. Will Treaty 8 First Peoples numbered be restituted with massive lands exceeding that? Absolutely. Under the American system, absolutely. Crown lands will be released to you in massive. This will also be the same for every treaty in Alberta, as well as all of Canada, numbered and named as 51st state. Those things occur. And yes, blood quantum. Or you have chiefs sign you off. But, like I said, if they choose blood quantum, you're screwed. You're not going to be held to it. It's going to be over. And that's reality. Should a black person be called a treaty Indian? Should a white person be called a treaty Indian? Should an East Indian person be called a treaty Indian? I can tell you all three of those are currently called treaty Indians in Canada. I know this for a fact. I've been to reserves where East Indian, hello, my name is Berta, right, is running the reserve and is an adopted board member of the tribe. Sorry, that guy's, you're gone, buddy. You don't get those rights. Doesn't matter. And I want American to be citizens, Canadians, all Canadians, and First Peoples who will be American citizens to understand. You're all equal anyway. Does it really matter if you're one of the state citizens or one of the nation citizens, right? Shouldn't you represent the culture that you're in if there's only two citizenships that are exactly equal? And yes, because First Nations, who only have 0.35% of Canada, and remember, and this is funny for Treaty 7 of all places, Blood Reserve, you're the biggest reserve with the least amount per person. You're going to get the largest settlement in the history of Canadian history. Massive lands. Huge. Now, Canadians, citizens, to be as Americans, does this mean you get booted off your lands like BC's trying to balloonify? No, you stay where you're at. It's the massive crown lands that First Peoples get first choice over. And then whatever's left in percentage is released to everybody else. So, folks, the need and the greed is beneath you. Excuse me, I'm sorry. The need and the greed is beneath you. It amazes me how people with nothing all of a sudden turn super greedy. No, they get nothing. It's all mine. But you got nothing now. You got nothing now. And the only people with stuff, that 1%, and people who've inherited land, and no, I got all this land and I want to keep it. It's valued super high. I'm a trillionaire or billionaire or millionaire, right? I'm sorry, that's just baloney. Look at the U.S. 9 times our population nearly, with much less land, but they have so much more private property, and their values are nowhere near yours in a way better climate. Well, that's because you hardly have any. You're extremely dense. So don't tell me that's normal or natural. It's unnatural. It's Hong Kong style, British Empire baloney. It's about slaves. It's about subjugation and savages. It's about genocide, murdering people. And if you don't think it's happening with Canadians, go look at the MAID program. Americans are not ignorant to this. Yeah. Okay, got Métis. Good question. I don't know what the question was. Let's see. Yeah, I answered that. Oh, have you talked to Keith Wilson or any other leader of the independence movement? No, I haven't, John. I leave it, and I'll tell you why. In 2019, when I was leading Alberta Independence, when we built that from nothing, and that came from Corey Morgan, allowed me to have the name. He ran it 18 years before I did. They didn't get registration, and they didn't get the candidate drive they needed. Now we did. We did that, an impossible feat, never done in Canada. Now the party is with other people. That's theirs. I had a platform of international law. Go through the United Nations Security Council, just like everybody else. There's no such thing as a country giving you independence or making you a country. There is no such truth to any of that. That is a farce. If people can't figure that out through detailed research, that's clearly easy on AI today, that all 142 nations created from 1945 onward have only been done by the UNSC, nobody else. So why would you be doing a Made in Canada solution? No, I've already told all these people, they already know. My platform was published. We actually ran a majority. Doesn't matter that we didn't win the election. I mean, everyone wants to win the election. People say, well, you weren't effectual. Oh, really? Running a mass majority of candidates wasn't effectual? Running for the title of Premier wasn't effectual? Moving the needle, setting the stage for everything here wasn't effectual? It is. It's just been hijacked. And running 1 or 2 candidates, I don't want to disturb any chance of UCP or Liberals or whatever province you're in. And it's like, why would you compromise your beliefs for beliefs that supposedly aren't yours? That's not somebody who's legitimate. That's someone who's illegitimate, dishonest, lying, and corrupt, just like the crown they profess to stand against. It's not real independence, the road they're going. I'm sorry. Alberta Prosperity Project. What's the other one? Save Alberta? I can't remember, but it's Jeffrey Rathman Company and Mitch Silvestri. The path they're on, the Clarity Act, Made in Canada solution, you've already seen, is already a failure. They haven't even finished the drive yet, and it's already a failure. Already tied up in courts. Cancel the petition now. Start again. You've got lots of time. Explain to your membership international law. If you want the USA to intervene, if you want it to be brought to the UNSC, like the other 142 nations created since World War II, we better add the reference to the United Nations Security Council that we want to do this question. We're asking you to give them the authority over this coming referendum. Once you do that, Canada's been neutered. And all the garbage you're going through has been neutered. President Trump's going to love that. He's going to love it. If you haven't seen, Mike Waltz is UNSC ambassador. I just had communications back and forth for the month of presidency of the United States. I'm glad I waited for a petition. We had a major success with that. You're not hearing any rhetoric from politicians. You're not getting an apology, but look what happened to BC. Look what happened to BC with now 35% tariffs cemented in Section 232. Did it go down a little bit? Yeah. But now what's coming with trade embargoes? Through Mike Waltz. Everything in our petition is being done to BC in punishment, as well as the rest of Canada in many sectors, and many more to come after July 1st. It gets really scary. I don't want this road. Again, I don't want it, but I'm glad to see that USA understands and is going to punish the Crown for their evil. And maybe it'll wake Canadians up. So, yeah, no, I'm not talking to Alberta's separatists or party leaders because I've made publications. I've told people since 2019 in that publication, every separatist should know. Separatists who left our party to went on, who've gone on and gone with that, why are you not telling them? Because I don't want to, well, you're going to stay in Canada. Just like why isn't the Alberta Independence Party running majority casts every election cycle? They've had 2 since May. 1 or 2 candidates each time. You can't run for premier with 1 to 2 candidates. You have to run with at least 1 plus 50% of the total 87, which means 44 candidates minimum. And then your leader's running for the title of premier. You get a whole bunch more than that. And if you win seats, you get funding. Why wouldn't you do that? Well, we don't want to run against UCP. So really, you don't want to leave Canada. You took the party to run it because you don't really want to separate, which is fine. Everyone lies. That's great. I'm not going to run down who's running parties or whatever. But I know our board was hijacked. That's why the board we're putting together of just 4 for easy registration can't be hijacked. I've already put things in place. Just like that oath where now you're going to be held accountable, at least in the United States. And again, I wouldn't want to be one of those people who lies and spits in the face of America and wants to register themselves as a domestic or foreign threat to the United States. It's not a good place to be. Oh, somebody did undrip there. Let me look. Becoming to free ourselves from the chains, main as we are, prosper and get all our God-given rights, become we the people. Yeah, Sig says that. We get all of our natural rights. In Canada, everybody, Liana Minato, she's right. In Canada, we have no natural rights. We don't have any civil rights or any ability for civics. We're in crown customary law, and we're in a parliamentary democracy, not for us. We're subjects or savages. Those are the definitions of us. And a less than 1% who gets the elite status, gets all the power, the glory, the authority of being a democracy. If we want any of that, everybody, it's 51st state where automatically, federally, you're enshrined with natural rights no Canadians ever had. We, the people power, we get all of it. Real property rights, real land releases for everybody. Everybody is made whole. And just so everybody knows, including First Peoples, you invented federalism. You invented natural law and legal systems. That's why it's not available in Canada. That's why Canada is not a real federalism. There's no constituted provinces. They have suppressed all of that. That's why you're under an Indian Act. We can't allow Indian political science, Indian natural law, Indian civil and civics responsibilities to spread. We have to subdue it. We hate America and everything it stands for because we hate the First Peoples. If anyone doubts that, go read the Indian Act. Go read everything about Canada and its inception to destroy the First Peoples. The Great Wall of Canada is not only about stopping the United States from spreading, it's about killing the Indian. It's about turning them into a subject, because those people have never been subjugated. They refuse to be. It's why they've nearly been wiped out historically. They are a human society created free from the monarchical rules and created something special, a group of people not influenced by centuries and centuries, thousands, millennia of indoctrination. They're not genetically coded that way. That's why America changed. That's what created the 130 years of American ordinances in the British colonies, 13. It was their direct engagement with the American Indians for survival, building militias. Indians taught them that too. They taught them federalism that led to 1776, their army. It's how they were able to beat a much superior force. The Indians taught them all that. They learned, they were assimilated by the Indians. It's how they changed how they read the Bible. It's how they enshrined nature, natural law into everything they do. That's assimilation from the American Indian. It's those British former subjects being assimilated into that. It's something Canada hates more than anything. It's designed to hate more than anything. It's what British Empire hates more than anything else in the world. As much as they're designed to hate America, they hate the American Indians more. And it's proven in our history, in all of everything done throughout the Americas by all the Crown. And if you search your souls, you'll know it's true. And that's reality. Thanks, Leanna. Let's see what else we got here. I know the ball starts to roll, Dave. There will be lots of people joining. We are fed up of working for corrupt government, working to fill their pockets. So, well said, Edgar. Let's see. Yeah, John Harder's totally right, too. And he is one of the amends on Canada, the 51st state page. He says the problem with a lot of people who get fed up is that they often get led down some weird rabbit holes. And we have to protect PCC from hijacking Canada, the corporation types, etc. And it goes on and on. People want to constantly fall into these holes because it's all they know is the Crown, and it leads right back to it. I've lived it. The board I've brought that's appointed has lived it already. We've experienced it. We're going to add people, but you're going to understand that. But I need these 4 core positions filled with people who can stand that test and won't flip, so the party's secure forevermore. That's it. And there will be lots of board positions, lots of work, lots of more and more. But John's right, which brings me to the next thing too. Canada, the 51st state page is going to change. When we have party registration, whoop, wipe out, and it's only party positives going forward, positive messaging, things the party's doing, activities, all of that, and the rest is going to be out the window. Out the window. It won't be public free for all. You'll have to be a member. Public will be allowed to view if they want to get on board, they can answer the questions, go through the process. Will still be public, transparent, but it's going to be reserved for those who swore the oath, those with memberships, to be actively engaged, which a lot of people have lied, but we also need forms done. So all that's going to change. The whole nature of the page is going to change. This is going to change. Like, hey, this is okay shirt, but you'll see me back to suit and tie. You'll see all my videos professional, whether it's teleprompter, reading speech, or, practice speech, so to speak, and a lot of Q&A, right? Thanks, John. This is what's hard. I gotta scroll this thing. Okay. What's this? Oh, Drippa. There we go. So that's Chad Tyler again. Shoot. I can only see part of the comment. If I grab it, everybody, it's going to scroll back to the top, and then I lose it. So UNDRIP is the Canadians' provincial law. We have DRIPA being implemented provincially for UNDRIP federally, but here's some sections that do not align with federal constitution. Supreme Law for First Nations for Rights, Section 35. Does that mean the collective consensus model and DRIP would be dismantled, renegotiation? UNDRIP is illegal. It's been vetoed. UNSC threw that in the garbage can. Your Canadian government, like the Indian Act, brought that forward as a way to steal private property from Canadians to strengthen their wallets, pay off chiefs, not actual First Peoples. Because honestly, let's just look at this. So let's take BC. Oh, this portion of Vancouver and all the way down to this section, all the way to this river, that's First Peoples unceded land that belonged to them. It's theirs now. You have to pay taxes on that, and we're going to send it to them through the Indian Act and the whole INAC system, through the government and lawyers, to the elected crown chiefs in the Canadian model system, not the First Nations self-government system. And no lands are turned over, when realistically you look at that and say, but wait a minute, just 50 kilometers past, there's massive, beautiful lands, many times its size, that nobody's occupying, called Crown lands, with the same river and water systems even, and better, big water basins and resources behind it. Why wouldn't you just hand that over to them in lieu of? Because in international binding law, you can't kick people off their land. You can't displace people to put your people in. That's illegal in international law. But that's Canada's solution, that the people they're not going to kick off are going to occupy this land now, but pay it forward to the government, the provincial government, to pay the First Peoples, who are chiefs of Crown through the same Canadian system as your appointed elected politicians. Huh? We're getting filthy rich. Meanwhile, none of the First Peoples are getting anything, except for welfare checks in substandard systems, without real lands available to establish anything for themselves, because they're not allowed to. Because that's all removed from them. Every provincial power is removed from all of them. None of them have any of those provincial powers. Zip, zilch, nada. Métis in Alberta, that settlement to rob Treaty 8 without any say of them, was only to allow for expansion of more property for the Crown at the expense of the Treaty 8 peoples, forcibly, and then use the excuse it was for Métis, who got some land settlements there, but they're at best a municipality of the province. Yeah, that's it. That's all they got. No provincial powers. This is why nations within the nation is the American way forward. Anyone who doesn't see that as a first person or as a Canadian, I don't know what to tell you, because they get releases, you get releases. We work together 100% free trade as two equal nations within the nation. Huh? Doesn't that sound good? And we learn to love each other across all districts because there's zero restriction on free trade. Whether it's an Indian child putting a bead necklace together or a child at a lemonade stand, right up to a massive corporation selling oil, diamonds, gold, all of that. Right? Right? Come on, you guys. Come on. They've engineered this evil on us. America has none of these problems. You'll never hear any of these problems. How come American Indians are going, rah, rah, rah? Because they're allowed their own economies. They're allowed to trade. For Albertans, you ever want to see towns that are doing just as good as Alberta towns and some economic issues like a lot of Alberta towns? Just go to Montana and go look at the massive nations you drive through within 20 minutes of crossing the border. You're like, wow, there's McDonald's here. They're running businesses. There's businesses everywhere. They're just like small towns in Alberta. Yeah, sure, there's businesses struggling, all that, closures in the downtown cores, but they're the same. How's that possible? That's called equality. Oh, let's start that again. Real democracy. Yeah, Chad Tyler, under Section 11 of the Indian Act, our memberships are controlled by Ottawa, so kind of infiltrated, and our population control through people who are half-breeds. Exactly. Thin the blood, it's assimilation. Not only is it cultural genocide, all the worst of the worst, what the Indian Act is, taking away your rights to your political, cultural system that's thousands of years old, aka real federalism, aka natural law and self-government that way. It really is destroying those people by breeding them out. Assimilation, full assimilation. This is the Crown and Canada always and forevermore going forward. They're never, ever going to change people. It's pure evil. It is criminal in international law. These people can be put to death. Honestly, especially when they start tracing how many people and families, communities, cultures have been wiped out and killed, especially with drug crises, start chasing all these cartels and everything that's just poisoning the reserves. Why is the government making that accessible? America knows. And your Canadian politicians who are cowards, all of them who talk tough today, they're the first to go down and he's, wow, when confronted with, I gotta be accountable. Okay, I capitulate. They're the first. No, I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna do all. And then, well, don't hurt me. Peeing their pants, pooping their pants, pathetic, crying like children. Right? They're the first to do that, and they capitulate right away. I'll do anything. I'll do it. I'll tell all of it. Right? Like pathetic, and you'll find that's true in every single. Spreading more lies, just like a country is tied to the crown. They are not responsible for crown actions, but keep telling people it's Canada's fault. Yeah, John, no, exactly. And everybody, First Nations on the hook for what the Canadian and provincial governments are doing. They always pin us together. Division is the tool of the crown. It's been the best one. The provinces were established with massive restrictions on each other and over each other, equalization, transfer payments that don't make it to the people who need, overwhelming systems to break it down, keep people working hard, but you can't do this, you can't do that. There's all these restrictions in place. Can't. You're a slave. Shut up. Just find a job, work. That's all the crown has ever been good for. And they get stinkily rich as they borrow against you, debt load you. They do all of that. That's what it's for. I think I've got just about everybody, I think. There wasn't much about the party stuff, though. So I hope at least people hear the initial first part. I mean, I talked about a lot today, but I hope everybody understands that. I will be reaching out. I don't know why. I guess a lot of people are saying I'm being defamed pretty hard on Facebook and everything else. And people are saying, oh, he works for Trump and the GOP. And it's like, well, I would love that. I really would. Are our interests aligned with that? Sure, 100%. But a lot of Democrat committee reports too. And when we start showcasing this, another part of the platform I'll leave with this that I've already highlighted is all the education that we have to do. And again, this goes back to John Harder and the 51st State page. It will be X, it will be YouTube, and people are going to run that, not me. I'll still do content at pivotal moments, but it's going to be very much limited. Maybe weekly only, right, on videos and stuff like that. Like, this video is going to disappear, but I think Oh, I'm going to say this, sorry. If Carney gets a majority, can he put the brakes on this whole thing? No. No. You can't put the brakes on the United States. I mean, they can. Technically, Mark Carney can do anything, but remember, everybody, America's watching. If Mark Carney was to start putting the brakes on Canada, the 51st State, or you're all hate and we're going to arrest you or doing that, can you imagine how that's going to go over in the United States, right? They're going to say, you really hate America this much? You do this to your own people who welcome us? Okay, assholes, you're done. Really, that's the truth. And Good Stuff says, where do we sign? We will get to that, everybody. That's the other thing. Let us get this party registered and have that process en route with everything checked, the T's crossed, I's dotted, comfortably, accountants there, everything's going forward. Then we're going to publish all that. Then we're going to do the website again with the volunteers, all of that again to make sure. And then after a period by June, I hope that we're all at that point, everybody's on board and we submit, right? Yeah, we have to. And that's what I want to do. So that's good. Yeah, Mike Bush says a real democracy. And that's it. That's what we have to do. A real democracy formed by the people. It's more than that. It's real rights, human, civil, political, and natural rights no Canadian has ever really had that you need to have. And I mean all Canadians, all First Peoples. Everybody deserves these things. Canada's so big, 90% of it, no human occupancy ever. That's ridiculous. Ridiculous. We don't need to be a Hong Kong. You don't put people on little unsustainable reserves with poison water. It's all for genocide, all for assimilation. They'll give up eventually and move back to the crown in full public being only Canadian. And that's why they do what they do. It's wrong. America celebrates the American Indian. They don't genocide it or culturally destroy it. They've never done that. It's already over 102 years where that's been ended absolutely. 102 years. Canada, you're 102 years behind the United States in its human civil rights monumental achievements. It's unreal. unreal. It shouldn't be. Since 1945, this is absolutely illegal. And under 1948, they would pursue that. Canada, the 51st state, we don't have to. We just got to pursue that 51st state, do the Enabling Act, and all of that is taken care of for us. But while people are putting rips in Canada, Albertans are going for separation. Quebec is going to be doing that politically much, much further than Alberta. That's what has to be done. And like I said, I noticed what Quebec does, no Anglophone does. So French and Anglophone are much different. I learned that. I've learned that wow, I wish I had spoken French. I wish I had toured in such detail Quebec much earlier, but we're never too late. We're never done. And I love you all. Thank you for this. I'm going to check. It says 4 new messages. Lindsay's getting upset at the guy. It really is. I don't know if someone's saying I'm spreading more lies. It is the Crown that's done all this. I'm not accusing Canadians. You're subject to, just as First Peoples are subject to. Am I accusing Crown Chief in the Chief Indian Act system? Yeah. Am I accusing provincial politicians from Premier and MLA, MNA, and onward? Absolutely. Am I accusing all MPs and the Prime Minister of Canada and then all federal and provincial Crown appointments for? Yes, I'm accusing them. 110%. They are way less than 1% of the population. Through delegates, they're a point of 1%. But folks, yes, I'm accusing all of them who hold tremendous amount of wealth of this country in their hands and their possession. So yes, I most certainly blame all of them, as history has blamed everybody who's done the same since 1945, including imprisonment and sentence to death. So I want to tell you all something off that comment. In the United Nations Security Council resolutions, there's been people like Maduro and others, there's many examples, who the UNSC has arrested, like Maduro in New York right now, but they've been put in the hog, completely isolated from the country they destroyed and the people they genocided, all the same crap. They were put away in complete social isolation. I mean, you are in solitary confinement till the country is completely revamped, recreated. So they don't know what's going on in the outside world. They have no idea. And they just sit there, not mistreated, abused, wherever they're fed their 3 square meals, but completely blind of the outside world. And however many years it takes for that country to get restored and created and the people free, then they turn around and go, yes, oh, look, they had their first Democrat election. It's been running. They're having another one. This was created. The place is beautiful. People are happy, singing, joyous. The country's well established. The judiciary's processing. Everything's good. The dictatorship's over. The military assassinations are. Everything's good. Open the cell door. Mr. Tyrant, it's time for you to come with us. Doesn't know what's going on. It's time travel for them. So some of them it's taken up to 12 to 18 to even 26 years. And they come out, old, frail person, no social skills, no fire like they used to have, really messed up. And they're adjusting, right? And all of a sudden, they're brought back to the custody of the country they left. So they come off the airport in shackles. What? And they're looking onto their country that is not recognizable anymore. In some instances, wow, people are dressed differently, happy, seen, people are driving cars, there's high-rise. What the heck happened here? Right? Shock load. Some old frail tyrant just shock loaded. Here's UNSC transfers custody of the prisoner, who just flew in, looking out the window, seeing out of socialization, looking at all the changes. They fly over their country, move their country in cars. Then they're turned over for that state's prosecution. Some end up in prison the rest of their lives. Some end up with the death penalty put to death after they see all the miraculous change after being isolated for many years. Think about that. That's true justice. We're all subjects. Yeah, it's true. Foster's right. All of us are. Different levels of it. What happened to UNSC on the term for traitor for the people? What happened to UNSC on the term for traitor for the Patriots? Well, as you saw, Ambassador Pete Hoekstra went to go meet with David Eby, who's now silent. He's not saying too much. He spoke about Iran and everything else, but a lot of these politicians now are silencing their rhetoric. If you didn't know, Ambassador Pete Hoekstra, UN Ambassador to Canada, is high intelligence, CIA level, proven highest level, went immediately after to go meet him. And that's after the consulate shooting too. Pete's underneath Mike Waltz, who we had communications with. Everything that's going to happen to Canada will come about, folks, post July 1st. That's why I don't get into too much of it. Just wait and see with UNSC. If you've read the petition, you know what's all in there. You know what's at stake. Let's just let it all play out, because USA is trying to get through Iran very quickly. You saw it happened on the 7th. You know they're in talks. Even today, right now, as I do this video, they're in major talks. The Strait is processing ships. Media's telling you a bunch of malarkey. They're at 10% capacity. They're going, it's limited. Guys, as I stated, it's not going to be for 2 months before they get the backlog. 800 ships deadlocked. Iran blown to smithereens. No Navy. No. They're like this. Can you imagine processing all that? Your country just got wiped out. You don't have imagine your constitution. Canadians, I guarantee you, what would be the equivalent for Canadians? It's like running all our bridges. After one of the bridges got blown up, Ottawa got blown up, Prime Minister Mark Carney and the caucus is half dead. And then, don't worry, Deputy Premier is over here and starts speaking up, and they're dead too. And then all the military installations blown to shit. All of our air bases destroyed. Threats of more, right? And you have no answer back. Everything we had or tried to launch all got destroyed. And we're sitting there going, and you're going to run a Hormuz Strait. Snap of a finger. Yeah, everybody's going through. Everything's great. And your government's in shambles. Everything else. You guys, as I stated, as everybody at a reasonable intelligence level, hit 38 days. Well, it's going to be another 68 before things are normalized. If ceasefire remains in place, I'm sure it will. I'm certain Iran's going to make a deal. They have no leverage. They have no Islamist countries in their corner. They've all signed off against Iran. Why do you think Iran bombed all of them? Because even the Islamist states said, no more global radical Islam. We are done. We want to move forward with the United States and the world. We don't want this anymore. So I'm sorry. There are 3 organizations hanging around 3 countries of Islam, even though 2 of those countries don't support it, but are dealing with that militant rising and always have been. They're all getting bombed too. Is the Iranian regime saying, hey, leave them alone? That's part of that. Yeah, but it doesn't stop the fact that they're in negotiations today. It's going to continue. they're going to have to capitulate with the United States, or it's going to be the end of them economically, folks. They have no ability to defend. Sure, they've got troops. Sure, they've got machine guns. Sure, they've got handheld rocket launchers, all that. But the rest of it's gone. Sure, they can cause a muck on the strait. But what is the state, everybody listen to me now, of 87 million people in a much, much smaller, compact area that's quite large by Middle East and European standards, but as a Canadian of 41 million people in this country, even though we're largely 90% of us 100 kilometers off the border, what would happen if you doubled that density to 87 million people? And all that occurred, and then all of a sudden, you can't get a deal because you say, we're going to run Ambassador Bridge. We're running the new bridge. We don't care what America says. And then America blows up every power station, every major factory or refinery in Canada. Meaning there's no power, no lights, no heat, no AC, no telecommunications, nothing. How fast do you think the people will be in full, out of control revolution? And I don't care if you're the Iranian Guard or who you are holding your machine gun when everybody's raging in civil war. And you're in that spot too, and you have family, and there's no checks coming. There's no money. There's no food. You have to run to a grocery store. You've got to get water. You've got to get food. This is what the Iranian regime is facing. If Donald J. Trump says, no, you're going to F with the United States and the world and continue on a path of nuclear proliferation because you won't turn over all of the enriched uranium, which is 99% of the agreement. 1% is the Hormuz Strait. Why? America doesn't need the Hormuz Strait. Everybody can buy American oil and America can ship around it. They have many other accesses. Is it a little longer? Sure. What's the question here is when you take the globe like this, right? Round globe, 3D. Remember how I told you don't do the map of the UK as Museal Flat Earth map? Let's do the globe. Let's roll it around, right? There's Hormuz Strait. Boop! Dead center. Now look at all the countries around it. Oh, wow. France is really close. Russia's really close. We're talking like Arctic style center of the world. Huh. I didn't realize UK and the whole European Union are that close to there. I didn't realize Brent and all of the Middle East oil and all of that trade is for Europe, UK, Africa, India, China. It's actually Russia and China who are on the furthest outside of it. Think about that. Center of the world, Hormuz Strait. I challenge everybody to do that. And when you do that, you realize, where's America? Nowhere to be found. Whose privilege is it? Oh, it's UK, France, European Union, and many, many others, not USA, not USA's sphere of influence. It's to lock America out. Well, America has power. They don't need the Hormuz Strait. That's what all those in the vicinity are fighting over to control, yet none of them wanted to do it. They made America do it, and it's not to America's benefit. Try that, everybody. And that's the center of the world, on the real globe, where America isn't there. None of the Americas are. They're innocent. They're over on the far side of the Pacific, or can't be seen in the Atlantic route, but Australia's there. They're further out. It's Australia, China, Russia, furthest away. Whose benefit? Certainly not for USA, None of the things people are saying are about USA, unless you're looking at a flat earth bullshit UK azimuthal map. Then America looks like a bad guy, but that's not reality. That's not the true reality of what we're looking at here. Everything we know is a fraud. Everything media and everybody does to us is British model propaganda in the British Empire. Gone, long gone. Technology is far advanced. We're not flat earth maps, or UK center of the world. Center of the world shifts to whatever strategic relevance it has. And when you do Hormuz Canal, you tell me whose strategic relevance. And why didn't UK and France lead this, and Germany, when they were the E3 who initiated all of it on Iran? They betrayed America. They lied. They betrayed their own people, of course. Why? Because their people are subjects. Psh, shut up, losers. You're just subjects. Why are Canadians suffering for what's going on over there? Well, now Mark Carney says, we're going to have to look at crediting because of the overwhelming wealth accumulation they're getting. Same with the province of Alberta. Why isn't the province of Alberta saying, this windfall over the Hormuz Canal, we should be crediting oil prices. We shouldn't be making a buck on this. Sure, take care of our deficit while this is happening, but that overwhelming surplus of revenue, you can't credit your own people who have zero zip zilch to do with the Hormuz Canal. It's everybody else in that vicinity of the world that's really in their neck of the woods. And the only reason why we're paying is because we're not enforcing the sale of our products in lieu of. But you're getting windfalls in the overvaluation of your products, not the ramp up of production to replace, or a presentation of, hey, let's replace Iran altogether. It can be done. Anyone who says it can't be is a liar. It's shameful, really. Claudio says once we are registered, we should be able to reach out to the Trump administration, right? Well, Claudio, that's the thing. We don't really need to. Donald J. Trump isn't what we need to reach out to for Canada, the 51st state. We already have presidential veto removal. That's been public since December. Americans don't make Canada the 51st state. Americans don't make annexation. We do. Our reach out is to every Canadian. Annexation, again, is not Oxford, everybody. It's absolutely Webster's. And that means the people of the region or territory or country have to pursue that on their own. Only them. Americans do not vote on this. Americans don't do anything other than wait for you to get to that point and you go apply for the Enabling Act. Reaching out to Donald J. Trump, everybody, on 51st State is not going to deliver anything. Will he see it all? Sure. But President, in his powers under constitutional law, is not to do anything for any foreign power, agency, political party. He's the official Republican Party and head of state of the United States. He does not, and I repeat, he does not work for us or Canada or anybody else. He doesn't. And he won't be entertaining us because it's unconstitutional. Americans stay in their lane. Thank you. Kind of an important question. Wallace Lee says, why have you skipped my question twice now? Okay, hold on. Well, it's not that I'm skipping you. Oh, are we going to adopt U.S. law as our own, using U.S. presidency case decisions? Okay, I hope you're saying USA, because you put U.S. law. Or are you talking about UNSC law? Because if you're talking about USA law, in the Enabling Act and absolutely Canada, the 51st state, all federal Canadian systems and law are replaced with U.S. federal laws and all case precedents, absolutely. USA, current federal government, and every federal government to come will replace the Canadian federal government. If that's the question you're asking, Wallace. As a state, under the Enabling Act, we build our state laws. We rip apart all Canadian laws, all provincial and territorial laws, and rebuild through constitutional conventions 1 to 2 years. It's likely in today's technology, it's only 1 year of constitutional conventions. 1 year. We build that off the Enabling Act model Congress provides to us. These are your powers. This is what you must codify. These are the rules that you can't breach. This is your lane. This is our lane. Understand that. Educate people on that. That's what's going to happen. That's what's always happened in statehood. But again, I'm just going to confirm and I'll scroll. And if I lost you, I lost you. Wallace, if that was your question, great. If it's UNSC, just type UNSC. I'm going to scroll. Okay, thanks, Dave. Okay, he did. And John says, and financials. Oh, they are running out of water before the war and financials. Yeah, Iran for sure, yeah. And it'll only get worse. You didn't answer the question. That's a lie. So why do you... Okay, so this is probably what... And so go after the Chiefs on reserve. It's not Canada's fault they signed these... Sorry to tell you. I think people misunderstand things. And this is the ignorance, right? And I get it, Canadian public. You're very all ignorant. I understand that. And I'm sorry to say that. In fact... It's beyond ignorance. Americans look at it as diaper-wearing adult babies. And I don't like to do this. I don't even like to be this negative. But we're doing this live, so I'm going to do it. You're ignorant of reality. There are all kinds of different treaties, historic USA-UK treaties over all that is Canada we know. UK and USA signed treaties over the Canada we know. These are not Indian Act, numbered name treaties, not early on treaties with First Peoples in UK. This is what UK said they would do with the United States of America post 1776, continued to negotiate British North American treaties, establishing land and water borders. It's over, yes. Many, many reserves and many, many sections of Canadian private property. In fact, almost all of it. And all Indian reserves. And a lot of Arctic stuff too. USA, UK. Canada arbitrarily says, hey, we're throwing out these ones. We're also throwing out these treaties you signed for First Peoples. No one said it's Canadians' fault. Nobody said it's First Nations' fault. I've said that again. Is it chiefs who are complicit fault after they've been educated? Is it politicians' fault who made these laws and bills after they've been educated? And no. It's absolutely all their faults if they continue on after everything that's been released and cemented in international law post-World War II. If a law came out in 1973 that said, you can't do this and Canada's doing it, Indian chiefs are doing it, you're subject to that, you're liable for that. And if someone comes along and shows you that, and you still say, up yours, you're a liar, you're subject to that. You're subject to that. You can't ruin people. Once you know, you know, and it doesn't matter even if you didn't know. The law is there to address people like that. And if they're participating, they're liable. We're still going to educate. We're going to continue to educate to bring adult babies, diaper wearers into adulthood, to go through all these things. It's in our platform. And then, like, again, going back, I know it's a repeat, this is what we're going to use Canada, the 51st state for, X, YouTube, you name it, all kinds of platforms to continually educate people as we grow membership and move forward. Let's see if I missed anything. Yeah, U.S. Constitution is desirable, but building our own state constitution, I argue, is even more desirable because there's many more powers, many more rights of the Canadian people to be Americans and First Peoples to be American Indian citizens than can ever be imagined in this lousy, or realized in this lousy confederation. Hope I got everybody. Yeah, I think that's it. And I don't know why it's quiet, but I know my last two posts have been quiet. I know there's been a huge public, don't listen to this guy and all this, and it's like, it's okay, but as far as me working for Donald J. Trump or any foreign group, or certainly not any crown domestic group, that's not me, that's never been me. I'm not a wealthy person at all, I'm never, probably ever going to be wealthy. My wealth is my family. My wealth is my accumulation of knowledge. And that's real power as far as I'm concerned. But anyways, folks, that's my video. We'll see how it shares. We'll see if this stuff grows or not. And we're going to be pursuing the email lists and getting all of that together. So I don't know if people have been publishing a bunch of baloney about me out there. I heard a lot of people are making claims, and it's just character assassination if people are that foolish to fall for it. I'm very public. If any kind of made-up accusations were true, trust me, running Canada, the 51st state, crimes, any kind of low-level crime, the Crown would be bum-rushing my door, issuing warrants for my arrest to lock me up as fast as humanly possible. They're trying to get me on, you spoiled your ballot. They're trying that. That's how desperate they are. So, yeah, my health, that's the real wealth. Beautiful day outside. I shared it, Dave. That's good. Okay, everybody, I love you. It's good Q&A. Hopefully it picks up. I don't know. I hope a lot of people haven't been subdued into something. Hopefully it's good. Usually my lives are way bigger. So it's kind of weird, but we'll see as it picks up. Hopefully it's good. Love you all. Bye now.